driving your car. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, comes all of these police cars surrounding you, pushing you to the ground, beating you up, brandishing guns, as if you just committed a terrorist attack. And you don't know what's going on. You get arrested, you get thrown in the back of a police cruiser, and you get drove to the police station. And when you get there, you're immediately put in isolation, and where where several police officers proceed to beat you up while interrogating you. Where do you think what's happening? Brazil? North Korea? China? Russia? I'm going to give you 3 guesses. And I would like you to write the answer in the description. However, I will give you the answer in 10 seconds. So, the correct answer. It's A, B, or C. The correct answer is B. And I know it shocks you, but it's true. The United States, this has actually happened in. But this happened in the 90s, and this still goes on today. And where? You might have heard it recently in the news. And I'm going to give you 3 cities where I'm describing. It's A, B again, or C. And the answer is A. Chicago, and especially Illinois, they have a long-standing history of corruption. The mob was, based there. You had Al Capone. Chicago was the mob stronghold back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and even 70s. So it makes sense that a lot of corruption, that Chicago is full of corruption. It makes perfect sense. I mean, in 2007, Blagojevich got arrested and charged with corruption. So it really doesn't make sense. I mean, it really makes sense that something like that would happen there, especially in Cook County. And what I'm telling you about is a man by the name of Paul Modrowski, who, mind you, is autistic, was accused by a friend of his of a mass murder that he did not commit. He was also accused by that same person of a murder that he didn't commit either. However, people went wild with the idea that Paul was responsible because it was an unsolved case, and Robert Faraci, who, mind you, has connections, small connections to the mob, not major, but like small, like distant family, relatives, and friends, blames you for committing the massacre. And he's a con man. He has a history of conning people, so he says it in detail, in meticulous detail, how you did it. Of course you didn't do it. He makes it seem like you're this horrible, evil person. And already, a lot of people don't really like your religious beliefs, especially that you're an atheist, so it kind of puts you in a bad light. You don't believe in God, people think you're a mass murderer, that kind of thing. And while you're being interrogated, you ask for an attorney. You're not given one. They don't even ask you for your Miranda signature. They don't even read you your Miranda Rights. So you refuse to talk. You don't talk, you don't answer any of the questions, despite being slapped, punched, kicked, threatened, coerced. Because you live in a corrupt state, you kind of know what's going on, and you try your hardest not to give in. And you don't. But guess what? The police officers are corrupt. So they're going to do what corrupt police officers are going to do what corrupt police officers have done and always have done. They're going to make up a false allegation against you. They're going to make up an allegation that you confessed to lending the car to Robert Faraci, who at that time was a murder suspect. They're going to make up an allegation like that because they believe that you're the murder suspect, and maybe because you kind of know too much. Or maybe they just don't like your attitude. It could be one of those. Police officers, they have grudges against people, especially if you talk back to them, if you spit in their face, and if you just blatantly refuse to do anything they ask you to do. They're going to have a grudge against you for that. No, Paul never spit in the police officer's face. I'm just saying. Because, a lot of people, corrupt police officers usually get spat in the face. Because I would do that. If a police officer tries to threaten me for something I didn't do, and try to coerce me, I'm gonna do more than just spit in his face. And I'm gonna get my mouth is gonna get really dirty. And yeah, police officers are definitely not gonna like the way I talk to their fellow cohorts. They're not gonna like me cursing them out, calling them effing pigs, calling them Nazis and other shit like that. They're not like that at all. And even if I don't do that, even if I just not answer any of the questions, act as stubborn as an ox, they're not gonna like that either. They're gonna think either I have something to hide or I'm just a very disrespectful person. So now you're in court. You're being charged with first-degree murder. And there's no evidence against you. There's nothing against you. Absolutely nothing. And so the prosecutor brings in the police officer, and he presents in court that you admitted to lending the car to Robert Faraci. There being just a testimony, a written testimony from the police officer. No evidence of no evidence of auditory confession, taped, or any other confession. And the police officer knows this, so he's coached by or not even coached. He makes up this statement that you refuse to be recorded or taped, when in fact you weren't, as you claim, you weren't even given your Miranda Rights. And the police officer could still secretly tape you. So they're not going to listen to you when you say you don't want to be taped or recorded. They're going to try to do everything to make you look guilty. Come on, I mean, look. They are pigs. I mean, come on. You obviously didn't confess to them, and you obviously were being disrespectful to police officers. So of course they're going to try to make you look guilty. And in fact, you're a wanted murder suspect. Yes, they're going to make you look horrible in front of the jury and the judge. They're going to make, and if they can't have evidence, they're going to try to make you look guilty. They're going to do horrible things like that, especially in a corrupt state like Illinois. Just horrible, horrible corruption. And now listen, just imagine this. Just before the trial concludes, the wife of the murder suspect, who you don't really have anything to do with, says, you had nothing to do with the murder. I mean, you already have all this reason on your side that you're not guilty. Everything is screaming, not guilty, not guilty. Everything is just shouting not guilty. And the only thing on the prosecution side is that you're a suspect in a mass murder case, and that you supposedly confessed to doing something which you claim you didn't do. But you have an attorney who represents you pro bono, that your parents got, and they represented you for free. That sounds a little bit suspicious, doesn't it? And the attorney, turns out, has no history, has never done a criminal case before. And you realize the mistake. Well, you never wanted this attorney in the first place. You wanted the public defenders who are criminal defenders. But your parents believe that this law firm is better because they got somebody out of prison, but then you're given an attorney who's never done a criminal case before. You argue with your parents to get you another attorney, but in the end they pick this one. You even write in your blog that you didn't really connect with the attorney, that he doesn't understand anything, he doesn't know what he's doing. But at first you kind of go along with him a little bit, unwillingly though. And then, after the murder suspect gets acquitted, guess what? He shuts down your entire defense, says, there's no reason to testify. And you argue with him to say, yes, I still want to testify. They're still pushing charges against me. I want to testify. I've been shut down enough. I want to testify now. I mean, you say that to him when you're meeting him privately, in the attorney waiting room, and guess what? And he tells you, if you don't listen to me, and if you go ahead and testify, you can go ahead and represent yourself. I'm going to leave your case. I mean, he represented you for free, so yeah, he could just walk out on you. But you still want to testify. You try to go to your parents and try to please let me testify, but that attorney convinces them, who think he's this great attorney, and he also convinces them not to testify. And you tell them, don't worry, everything's be all right. But you don't feel that. You have a bad feeling. I mean, of course you have a bad feeling. You've been bullied your whole life. You're a very negative and cynical person. So yes, you're gonna be negative. And you're gonna and then you tell your mom, as of today, you don't have a son anymore. And you tell her this very eerily calm. And your mom says, relax, everything's going to be fine. And you say, no. I'm going to get convicted. I know it. This attorney is an idiot. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's actually never even done a criminal case before. Or, wait, no, you don't know that yet. Sorry. Yeah, that's my bad. You find out later that he's actually never done a criminal case before. But you don't like him. You don't like the attorney. And, yeah, you got in a pretty bad argument with him about him not allowing you to testify. Or your sister. Now imagine, and again, the reason he doesn't let you testify is because the person you're accused of lending the car to, or were given a false testimony, a false report by the cop who he said you lent the car to, got acquitted. Technically, that makes you not guilty, but the court decides to push charges against you anyway because they think you're responsible for a massacre which you didn't commit. So the jury, as you predicted, finds you guilty. Of course, because you're not allowed to testify. And also, the prosecutor doesn't tell the jury that you have the attorney doesn't tell the jury that you have autism. And on top of that, he says, so what if he lent the car? You practically your attorney just practically stabbed you in the chest, in the back, basically. Maybe he did this because you argued with him. Maybe because he's a blundering idiot. But either way, he just screwed you. You already thought you're screwed, but now he just really screwed you. And he doesn't allow you to testify. And of course, you're gonna be found guilty. It's obvious. Even though there's no evidence, the jury sees you guilty. Your awkward behavior in the court, your lack of eye contact with the jury, your stoic facial expressions, which all autistics have, which I also have, would make the jury think you're guilty. I mean, look at that. Just look. And imagine, as I said, you're Paul again, and you get found guilty. You don't show now you show no emotion, and you tell your mom, now you don't have a son anymore. And your parents still see hope that you might get a post-conviction appeal, and that the judge might help you. So you try to testify after the conviction that you have autism. I mean, yes, you are actually autistic. You've been diagnosed at age 3. You've been going to special needs school, but imagine the judge thinks it's all a ruse to get you insanity plea, or to get you an incompetency trial, to get you ruled incompetent to stand trial. But imagine the judge, of course, doesn't believe you, and so the sentencing hearing goes on, and the judge ultimately sends you to life in prison without parole and finds you to be a con man. And says, oh, you're a con person, you can't be trusted, you're untrustworthy. And then the judge realizes his mistake and feels horrible when he finds out that, in fact, you actually were autistic. But it's too late. And then he goes, apologizes to your parents, realizes his mistake, and tries to help your son. But it's too late, because now he's not a judge anymore. Because, he didn't get elected again. So he goes tough on crime on you, and makes you life in prison without parole for supposedly lending a car to a man who got acquitted. And now you're rotting in prison for the rest of your life. You have absolutely no hope of getting out. And now, 20 years later, this podcaster who does a show about the internet hears about the podcast you do and decides to do a story on you. So she talks to you. Sruthi talks to you. The producer, Sruthi Panamarini, talks to you. She hears your opinion and what you've been through. So she tries to find the people who are involved in your case. She finds a few of them. And the prosecutor says, yeah, he thinks you're still guilty. The judge says, I regret, and the judge, who couldn't be reached for comment, is reported to say he regretted sentencing you to life, and that you should have been given a much shorter sentence, maybe a few years, because you didn't really kill anyone. and that you were misunderstood. But then she finds out something about you, about your past, about your anger issues, and she's kind of prejudiced against you for that. But then she gets even more prejudiced against you when she finds out about your political beliefs, which she doesn't agree with, which makes her even more prejudiced against you, and paints you in a kind of a bad picture. Just imagine that. But now, your current attorney, your current defense attorney, is appealing to have your DNA tested to clear you in the crime. Most likely, yes, you will be cleared, obviously, because you didn't have anything to do with it. But what? You're gonna spend 25, 22 years in prison for no reason at all. You spend more time in prison than you've been on the outside. You were essentially arrested just after turning 18, so you are charged as an adult. It's just very sad. It's just really, really unfortunate what happened to you, and it's just unfathomably sad. I mean, there's nothing more I can say. I mean, you've been sitting just imagine you've been sitting in prison for 25 years for no reason. Just imagine the pain you go through, and then when a producer tells you, "Oh, just go and get a pardon," and you tell her, "Are you crazy?" And you tell the producer who's interviewed face to face, "Are you crazy? I'm innocent. I spent my entire life in a prison for a crime I didn't commit." And you, I forgot exactly what Paul said. Hold on. If you want to hear what Paul said, go to replyall.com. Go to Gimlet Media, type in On the Inside Part 4, and go to about the 35-minute mark either on SoundCloud. Just scroll up to the 35-minute mark on a desktop computer, and hear Paul's response to Sruthi. It is golden. I mean, Sruthi tried to make Paul look bad because of his political beliefs, but he destroyed her. He came up with the best response I would have ever came up with. Like, Paul is awesome. And Paul says, "I'm not guilty. I've spent my entire life. I've spent so many years in prison for a crime I didn't commit. I'm a shallow of a person I used to be. I don't care if they decide to release me. I don't care if they find me not guilty. It's too late anyway. My life is over. For all I care, I can die in this hellhole." Just imagine if you say that. You mean it. You mean it. And you get emotional, and then you calm down and tell her, and then you smile at her. Because you're a friendly person. Your anger wasn't really directed at her. It should have been, but it's directed at people who actually got you locked up in there. And then as Sruthi recalled, you in a friendly manner, waved to her and said bye to her. Kind of like a person with autism would do, and almost all your anger is just gone. People with autism usually change their emotions pretty quickly. I kind of do the same. But you're not a bad person for being an atheist. You're even more of a good person for having autism. You shouldn't be discriminated against for your personality because of a condition you have. It's wrong. And everyone involved in what happened to Paul are not good people. I mean, Paul's not the best person either. I mean, he had anger issues. He's said some things he's regretted. So, no one's perfect. I've said things I regretted to people. I've done things I regret. I've cursed people out. I've got into fights in school myself, and I've gotten in trouble too. Most people have. It's normal life. But for Paul, normal life, it's more than that. It was horrible what happened to him, and inexcusable. So, please repost this video. I know it's probably going to get very few views, but I'm going to... Sorry, turn off the light back. I'm going to read in the description. If you have the patience to watch a 20-minute video, please do. It will, really entertain you a lot. Now what I'm saying, I will leave all the... I'm going to leave the link to Paul's blog in the description. We can read it, and I will try to describe more in detail about Paul's case in the description too. Thank you for watching. Bye.